context. And then you can basically drive lots of activity. So branch out for LinkedIn. There will be e-commerce stores that will basically, because people do like recommendations from their friends, but it just needs to be basically not in line during your day-to-day activities on Facebook, but you leverage those connections outside and build some interesting applications.
I think one of the great things about Facebook is their targeting can be, they have so much information about their users that they can do some good, some interesting targeting. And it turns out to be pretty cheap right now. So people are sort of arbitraging that versus what they can get other places, and it'll be interesting to see over time how that evolves. Let's talk about DataSphere for a second.
Before just one. Keep an eye on ban pages. Have you seen ban pages on Facebook? It's after Zynga, it's the most trafficked application on Facebook. And what they've done is basically they build pages for bans, and I think they're up to 80 million eyeballs now. And it's just they're just taking over MySpace's business for bans. And it's a very simple model. They create a page for a band. They charge $1, $2, and they're hosted. The content's also hosted on a separate site. But you go into the Facebook experience, and you can find out everything that's going on about Beyonce, whatever. And that's an interesting thing to keep an eye on.
And they have so many users they can leverage that.
Yep.
And they also have. One of the great things about Facebook is they've got great developers, so they quickly jump on opportunities. Dave, let me do DataSphere for a second, and then we'll just so because I want to make sure we get at least so. Tell us a teeny bit about sort of value proposition and sort of how you guys make money. We'll dig in for a little bit.
So on DataSphere, what we do is we work with local media companies. And in our first wave of partnerships, we have joined hands with broadcast TV companies. And we take advantage of 3 of their assets. So they have lots of neighborhood-specific content that doesn't fit in their TV and radio programming, which are city-centric. So we've taken our technology platform and spawned off hyperlocal websites on their behalf, leveraging their content. And then basically, we leverage their distribution. So they start promoting it heavily in TV and radio, plus our platform that drives traffic from SEO and social. So we're able to drive lots of activities into these neighborhood content, either on those hyperlocal sites or on their main station sites or Facebook, Twitter, wherever. And then we basically, the second part of our offering comes in where we built an ad sales platform where we leverage their brand to sell to small, medium businesses who want to reach these audiences in an affordable price, which is a few $100s a month. So we basically have consumers who consume this information, like local news, local events, local deals. And we have media partners. We're leveraging several of their assets, and then we make money out of the small media businesses. So those are the 3 constituents basically that we.
So how did you? I think, for a lot of people, this idea of partnering, you have a unique partnership model, right? Where you'll take like a Como 4 is one of your partners, right? And you'll do some kind of revenue share essentially with them in exchange for their credibility, their content, stuff like that. How did you think about that, partnering and that model, and sort of the pros and cons of that for folks who are trying to figure out, is there a way to partner our way into more, having some kind of revenue model?
Yeah, and I think we did arrive, and I think this is a theme that you got to take away, that whatever you see, I look at Amazon, I look at IMDb, from outside it looks like, oh, vision was crystal clear from day one. Vision is never crystal clear. It's muddy all the way. So even now, when you'll see clarity on Amazon, there's a lot of muddiness inside. So in here, for example, I'd like to tell you our story of how we arrived at our business model. And circumstances forced us to basically pick a business model which turned out to be basically the right model. But if we had different circumstances, we would have taken a different path. So we didn't want to basically build the sales team. We were a technology company. We didn't have salespeople. So we wanted to sell our technology to media companies, and our offering was, hey, you've got all this content that can be leveraged to drive lots of page views, and we can segment your audience down to a neighborhood level so that now you can reach out to a local cupcake shop owner and actually sell it to the cupcake shop owner, because now we have given you an ability to sell to them and target, if they are out based in Bellevue, just the Bellevue eyeballs. What we quickly found out was too, because this was beginning of 2009, people are not writing checks for technology. So therefore, basically, we didn't find any customers who was willing to take what we were offering. So they're compelled. They believe that we can drive page views, but they said, hey, 90% of our page views are unsold, so you can add some more to it. What the hell are we going to do with it? So we were said, okay, we'll need to basically figure out a way to make money, because the business model, if you go in and actually sell the technology and ask for technology, is not working out in 2009. And we chose to give our technology for free and literally said, we will cut you a check. So the proposition was, it will make your websites look like Amazon.com, plus we'll spawn off all these hyperlocal websites, all for free. It'll substantially increase your reach. And by the way, we'll help you make money from small, medium businesses who are aware of your brand, but right now you're not making any money from them. But they're all going through massive disruption because they're not advertising on newspapers as much or Yellow Pages and direct mail. And this would be a new paradigm for them, for us to be able to deliver value that we have. And we tried it with the first customer with the full hope that again we'll basically move on. That, hey, look, we've proven basically we can generate lots of revenues, and now let's go back to our technology model. And we kept reaching out, and again we kept getting a lot of no's that we said, you know what, this thing is doing so well, we've seen data for our first hand, and the other stuff we're finding out is there's not a ton of companies who figured out how to make money from small, medium businesses on a massive scalable basis. And so that became our charter, and now basically our business model, we were forced into it, but turned out basically that's the right business model. I'm glad basically we developed it in a downtime. It's just basically scaling beautifully because people line up to do deals with us because they get so much value in return, and we are taking all the risk.
Because you go to them and say, would you like me to write you a check?
Yes.
That's a good model.
Yes. In fact, we basically, what we are saying is, we are willing to write you a check, but we know we're going to make more. Which model would you prefer? And typically, basically, they say, I'll take the higher number and I'll share some risk.
So you started out in one market and then tried to prove it out. This is a question from before.
Yes.
What, because I think, again, as people, for folks that are starting a business, it's like, how did you decide that you had proven out the model enough that you were ready to go to additional markets?
Yeah. So I think, again, I think whether you do it locally or nationally depends on what you build. So I'll start with DataSphere. There, basically, I have to do it on one market because we had to hire people to make calls. So I didn't have, basically, we were constrained in terms of partnerships. So if you had a partnership in Seattle, I couldn't launch it nationally because I haven't proven anything, and other people are not willing to sign the deal yet because there was no proof. So for us, we were forced to kind of prove out in one market just purely based on that, because each one of these markets in local market is extremely big in opportunity. So like Seattle market itself is $1 billion in local advertisement. So you can go deep and make a legitimate business just in being in few regions. So we wanted to basically kind of work with our partner, and one of the points I had made previously was, you pick a partner who's respected in the industry. People, then you can leverage their name to sign up other partners because other people look up to them. And they're going to be really, really hard on you and your team to develop a really awesome product. So that's why we basically chose them. We intentionally chose Como because they had a reputation in the industry of being a thought leader in the broadcast industry space. And we also had worked with people over there who basically, we knew that they will challenge us to actually evolve our overall product. And in our case, basically, we proved the model out. They had 13 TV stations, so not only we started with Seattle and then rolled out in Portland. So with one partner, we knew that we can prove it out, because one of the first things we started getting as we proved out Seattle was, Northwest is different. People like to blog in Northwest. We are in Alabama. This model is not going to work. And then we had to prove out basically a couple of those concerns as a function of time. But again, I think like when people don't have to write a check, they're getting money in return, some of those conversations get very interesting. One of the other things we did for adoption, because these are old legacy companies where people get penalized for taking risk, okay? And they don't get awarded basically if those risks are successful. So how do you convince those guys to move faster? Because for us, our money was running out, and we wanted them to basically move fast. So one of the other creative things that the team did, which was outstanding, was we chose to pick one partner per market. And we would go in and meet with 4 partners in one day. And we'll tell them that we're meeting with all of them, and only one of them will get the deal. One of them will get the privilege to work with us, whoever signs the deal first. And we'll leave basically contracts on each one of these things, and whoever